My stepmom started treating me like I was nothing after she got pregnant. And eventually, she threw me out of the house. Even though I used to love her like a real mom. Before I explain what happened, I need to describe what life was like before everything changed. My parents divorced when I was 8 years old. My dad remarried when I was 12. His new wife became my stepmother, and honestly, I really loved her. She wasn't trying to replace my mom or anything like that. She was just genuinely kind to me. She helped me pick out outfits for school dances. She even taught me how to do my makeup. When I got my period for the first time while staying at her house, she handled it in a way that wasn't awkward at all. She remembered my favorite snacks too, and she always bought them whenever she went grocery shopping. We were so close that I felt completely comfortable around her. My dad and stepmom lived in a house he bought after the divorce. It wasn't huge, but it had 3 bedrooms and a really nice backyard. I stayed with them every other weekend and during some holidays. My mom had primary custody, mostly because my dad traveled a lot for work. Toward the end of 2019, my stepmom told me she was pregnant. I'm an only child, and honestly, it can get lonely sometimes. So I was excited. I couldn't wait to have a little brother or sister. She looked happy too. She showed me the ultrasound pictures and even let me help choose paint colors for the baby's room. We looked at baby names together. She asked if I wanted to be there when the baby was born, and I told her yes. Everything felt perfect. Then March 2020 happened. The whole world shut down because of the virus. My mom works at a clinic, and suddenly she was working double shifts, sometimes even triple. People were getting sick everywhere, and the clinic was completely overwhelmed. She came home exhausted every day and barely had time to eat. I understood what was going on, but one night she sat me down and told me something serious. She said it wasn't safe for me to stay with her. She was exposed to sick people all day long, and she couldn't risk bringing something home. She cried while telling me. And just so you know, my mom never cries. So I moved in with my dad and stepmom full-time. It was supposed to be temporary. But no one knew how long temporary would last. I packed a few things from my mom's house, and my dad came to pick me up. My mom hugged me for a long time before I left. At first, things were fine. By then, my stepmom was about 4 months pregnant. Her belly was starting to show, but not too much yet. I did online school in the guest room, which had now become my room. My dad worked from home, and she was on leave from her job. We ate dinner together, watched movies. And my dad grilled burgers in the backyard. On weekends, it almost felt normal. Considering everything happening in the world. But then, things started to change. I don't even know exactly when it began. But she started acting differently toward me. If she walked into a room and saw me there, she would turn around and leave. If I was watching TV in the living room, she would go upstairs and watch in her bedroom instead. Whenever I asked if she wanted help making dinner, she would snap no in a sharp tone. Making it clear she didn't want me anywhere near the kitchen. At first, I thought maybe she was just tired. Pregnancy is hard. But it kept getting worse. One morning, I came downstairs for breakfast. She was making toast. I said, "Good morning." She didn't respond. I asked if she slept okay. And she slammed the butter knife down on the counter before walking out of the kitchen. My dad kept making excuses. He said she was struggling with the pregnancy. That the lockdown was stressing her out because she couldn't see her family. Her parents lived 3 states away, and with everything shut down, they couldn't visit. He said her hormones were all over the place. He kept telling me she would go back to normal soon. But she didn't. In fact, she got worse. I tried to stay out of her way. I spent almost all my time in my room. I only came out for meals or to use the bathroom. I did chores without being asked. I cleaned the bathroom after I used it. I washed my dishes immediately after eating. I tried to make myself invisible. But it didn't matter. She still found reasons to be angry with me. One afternoon, she walked into my room without knocking. She stood in the doorway and said my room smelled disgusting. And that it was making her nauseous. I looked around. There was a hoodie on my desk chair that wasn't even dirty. And an empty pretzel bag in the trash. That was it. I told her I didn't think it smelled bad. And suddenly, she started crying. She completely broke down on the spot. Then she stormed out and slammed my door. Another time, I was doing laundry in the basement. I heard her coming down the stairs. When she saw me standing by the washing machine, she made a sound like she was disgusted. Then went back upstairs without even grabbing whatever she came down for. My dad still defended her. He asked me to be patient. He said pregnant women sometimes develop strong aversions. To smells, to people, even to their pets. He told me he had read online about women who suddenly couldn't stand their husband's cologne. Or even being around their dog during pregnancy. In theory, it was temporary. And it wasn't supposed to be personal. But it felt personal. Extremely personal. Because I was the only one in the house she reacted to like that. Eventually, I stopped leaving my room unless I absolutely had to. I ate in my room almost all the time. I asked my dad to bring me food so I wouldn't have to go into the kitchen. He did. But every time, he looked more and more uncomfortable. Then my hair started falling out. When I brushed it, the brush was covered in hair. When I showered, clumps of hair got stuck in the drain. Every morning, I found strands all over my pillow. My mom noticed during a video call and made me promise I would tell her if things got worse. I promised. But I didn't tell her how bad it already was. She already had enough to worry about. I texted my friends. But we were all stuck inside and depressed. And after a while, we ran out of things to talk about. I missed my mom. I missed my old room. I missed feeling like I belonged somewhere. The breaking point came in June. School was almost over that year, and my stepmom was about 7 months pregnant. One morning around 10, I was in the kitchen. I had woken up late because I stayed up until 3 in the morning finishing an English project. I poured myself a bowl of cereal and sat down at the table with my phone. I like my cereal soggy, so I was letting it sit for a few minutes. I was scrolling through something online. Just some random stupid thing to pass the time. My stepmom walked into the kitchen. She didn't look at me. She went to the sink and started washing dishes. Except there weren't any dishes. I had already cleaned everything earlier. She was just letting the water run and moving her hands around. Then she started wiping down the counter with a paper towel. The counter was already clean. She was huffing while she did it, like she was furious. Every few seconds, she glanced at me out of the corner of her eye. Then she walked over to the table and grabbed my bowl of cereal. The spoon was still inside. She carried it to the trash can and dumped the entire bowl into the garbage. Bowl and all. I asked her what she was doing. She said the kitchen was a complete disaster. And that she was sick of cleaning up my disgusting messes. I told her the kitchen wasn't messy, and that was my breakfast. But she didn't care. She said I needed to get out of her space. I yelled at her. I called her a name. I'm not going to repeat it, but it wasn't nice. I was just so tired of being treated like garbage. In what was supposed to be my home too. My dad came running in from the living room and stepped between us. My stepmom started crying again. And she kept saying that I had to leave. That I couldn't stay in the house. Because I was making her miserable and stressing her out, and that was bad for the baby. She also said I could never be near her child. My dad walked me back to my room and shut the door. Then he said something I will never forget. He told me I must be doing something to make her react this way. Because people don't hate kids for no reason. And if I kept stressing her out, he would have to find somewhere else for me to live. Because he couldn't risk something happening to the baby. I just stared at him. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Then he left and closed the door. I grabbed my phone. I posted on Instagram explaining what was going on. I asked if anyone's parents would let me stay somewhere for a while. Then I threw clothes into a backpack. Along with my laptop and chargers. The house was only 1 story, so my bedroom window faced the side yard. I pushed the screen out and climbed through. I walked around to the front and started heading down the street. Before I even reached the corner, my phone started vibrating. It was a friend. I went to her house. She lived about a mile away. Her mom opened the door, and I explained what happened. She let me stay. I also messaged my mom and told her everything that had been going on. She was busy, so she didn't call me for hours. When she finally did, she was furious. Not at me, obviously. She told me to stay with my friend and that she would handle everything. She called my dad. She told him I was safe. And that I would be staying with my aunt until my mom could take days off to come get me. My aunt lives about an hour away. In reality, I didn't go to my aunt's house. I stayed with my friend. But my dad and stepmom didn't know that. Apparently, they went looking for me. They drove to my aunt's house, but my aunt told them to leave. They went to other relatives' houses. My grandparents didn't even open the door. After my Instagram post, everyone found out what had been happening. My dad and stepmom got a lot of calls from family. And they weren't nice. I stayed with my friend for 2 weeks. Then my mom came to pick me up. I went back home with her. My aunt went with my mom to my dad's house and packed up all of my things. While I waited in the car, I refused to go inside. I haven't been in that house since. That was several months ago. I turn 18 in 2 weeks. I haven't spoken to my dad since the day I left. He's tried. He sends me messages. Birthday and Christmas gifts. He deposits money into my account. And every time, he includes a note saying my stepmom didn't mean it. That the pregnancy just made her hate me for no reason. That it's something that really happens. And that they want to fix things. I never respond. Now I have a little brother. But I've never met him. I've only seen pictures. My dad tags me in Facebook posts with photos of him. His name is my brother. He looks like my dad. Recently, I told the whole story to my cousin. He was with his girlfriend, Natalia. Natalia said what my dad and stepmom did was wrong. But that what I did was wrong too. Apparently, I made a pregnant woman worry during a pandemic. I made them go door to door looking for me. When they should have stayed home. She said it was obvious my stepmom had mental health issues. And that I made it worse. I asked Natalia if she thought I should have stayed. And just let my stepmom keep mistreating me. She didn't say yes. But she said there were better ways to handle it than running away and posting it online. That since I was almost an adult. I should have acted like one. Now I can't stop thinking about what she said. Was I wrong? Should I have handled it differently? I don't know if I could have survived much more of the abuse. A week ago, I posted about my situation with my stepmom and how I left. The general consensus was that I did the right thing by getting out of the house of someone who was abusing me. Yes, she was hormonal. But she was also putting me through my own personal hell, and it was making me sick. Now, a few new things have happened that I think I need to share. First, I uninvited Natalia from my party. I texted my cousin and told him his girlfriend was no longer welcome. My cousin told me he had something to tell me about her, and that he'd rather do it in person. He came over the next day. He explained that Natalia has some unresolved issues. She was diagnosed with bipolar disorder in college. She's medicated now, but it took a long time to find the right combination. The reason he was telling me this was because Natalia has 2 younger brothers who don't speak to her. They're adults now, but they refuse to have a relationship with her because of things she did when she was younger and wasn't managing her illness well. Natalia's parents died in a car accident 3 years ago. So those brothers are basically all the family she has left. It breaks her heart that they won't forgive her. My cousin said that when Natalia heard my story, it brought up parts of her own family trauma. She sees herself in my stepmom. And she sees me as the sibling who refuses to forgive. It wasn't that she was trying to hurt me. She was projecting. But that still didn't change the fact that I didn't want her at my party. Then my cousin showed me messages Natalia had sent him after I left. She wanted to help me and my stepmom reconcile. She was taking it way too personally. She told my cousin that I would regret it if I didn't do something to reconnect with my family. But she didn't mean my dad. She meant my stepmom. He also showed me messages Natalia had sent directly to me. That I never received because I blocked her number. She had forwarded them to him since I wasn't responding. She sent therapy website links. Subreddits about divorced parents. And kept saying I needed to let go of my hatred before it consumed me. I told my cousin his girlfriend was crossing a line. He admitted he knew. And that Natalia wanted to see me in person to apologize. Against my better judgment, I agreed. Sort of. All I agreed to was unblocking her number. But then something else happened. Natalia texted me asking if she could take me out to lunch for my birthday. She said she wanted to treat me to a new restaurant in the next town over. as an early gift and an apology. Something about the message felt off. So I said yes. Even though I wasn't actually planning to go. It just felt wrong. Really wrong. Meanwhile, some people in the comments of my first post suggested that I write a letter to my dad. I thought about it for a few days. And then I did. I sat down and wrote about 5 pages. I explained how he made me feel like I didn't matter. I told him I wanted a relationship with my little brother. But that I wasn't sure I could have one with him. I asked him to stop messaging me, because every message pushed me further away. My mom delivered the letter to my dad's house. She knocked, handed it to him, and left. The next day, he called her and asked to meet. He wanted to arrange a visit with my brother. He also offered to buy me a car for my birthday. No strings attached. And he wanted to give me money. $500. I talked it over with my mom. It was my choice. And I decided not to accept anything material. Because that wasn't the point. I didn't want gifts. I wanted my dad to care about me. To not let me lose my hair from stress. Then I found out what Natalia was really planning. My cousin discovered that Natalia had contacted my stepmom on social media. She didn't believe my version of events. And wanted to hear my stepmom's side. She was trying to get my stepmom to defend herself. So she could prove that I was wrong. But here's the thing. My stepmom didn't do what Natalia wanted. Instead, she replied and told Natalia that everything I said was true. She said she didn't know why she reacted the way she did during her pregnancy. But it happened. And she felt horrible. She got help after her son was born, and she's doing better now. She said she didn't blame me for hating her. She took full responsibility. And she felt so ashamed that she didn't know how to contact me. Because she assumed I hated her. Natalia responded by giving my stepmom the time and place of our lunch. She said it was the perfect chance for my stepmom and me to work things out. At first, it sounded like a noble gesture. Until you realize Natalia had plans to make sure I wouldn't be able to leave once I saw my stepmom. My mom found out because my stepmom forwarded everything to my dad. And my dad sent it to my mom. My mom posted the screenshots in the family group chat. She said things to Natalia that I won't repeat here. But she made it clear that if Natalia came near me again, there would be consequences. I blocked Natalia's number again. We had a meeting with my cousin, my mom, and my aunt a couple of days later. My cousin swore he didn't know what Natalia was planning. But my mom and aunt didn't believe him. They yelled at him for 20 minutes. In the end, they believed him. Because I told them that if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have known any of this. He broke up with Natalia a few days later. He came back and apologized to me again. I told him we were okay. After everything with Natalia exploded, my dad called my mom. He said neither he nor my stepmom had any idea what Natalia was going to do. My stepmom was horrified. But she was happy about the idea of me meeting my brother. We agreed that I would see my brother. But not at my dad's house. My dad and stepmom are acting appropriately now. But you can't blame me for still having reservations. My mom arranged for it to happen at my aunt's house. It still hasn't happened yet. I'm nervous. But I really want to meet my brother. My desire to have a sibling never went away. He's my brother. And even if things with my dad aren't okay, I don't want my little brother to grow up thinking I didn't care. Update 2. The meeting with my brother happened last weekend. And besides that, something else happened too. And it's all connected. First, about my brother. My mom drove me to my aunt's house on Saturday morning. My dad and stepmom were supposed to arrive at 10. I got there at 9:30. I sat in the living room waiting while my aunt made coffee. My mom kept asking if I was okay. I told her yes. My dad's car pulled up at exactly 10. Dad got out first. Then my stepmom opened the back door and lifted my brother out of his car seat. He was bigger than I expected. I don't know why, but I thought he'd be smaller. She carried him up to the door. My aunt opened it and let them in. But she didn't hug my dad or greet my stepmom. She just stepped aside. My dad saw me sitting on the couch and froze. It looked like he wanted to say something. But my mom gave him a look, and he didn't. My stepmom set my brother down and placed him in my lap. He didn't cry. He just stared at me intensely. Then he noticed my aunt's cat and started staring at that instead. My dad and stepmom went into the kitchen. My mom went with them. I could hear them talking, but not what they were saying. My aunt stayed in the living room with me and my brother. After about an hour, my stepmom came out and said they had to leave. My brother needed a nap. She picked him up and thanked me for meeting him. Dad came out behind her. But he stopped at the door. He turned around, walked back toward me, and hugged me. He said he missed me. I just stood there, not knowing what to do. Then I started crying. Not from sadness. From anger. I pulled away and told him exactly what he did to me. I told him my hair was falling out. That it felt like he chose my stepmom over me. And that I would never forgive him for it. He started crying too. He apologized and said he knew he messed up. He asked if he could try to be part of my life again. But I didn't have an answer. They left after that. On the way home, my mom asked how I felt. I didn't have a good response. It was too much to process. What happened with Natalia? The other thing that happened involved Natalia. My mom had booked us a vacation for this week. Just the two of us. We left Monday morning. We went to a beach town about 4 hours away. She wanted to do something nice before I started college. We hadn't even been gone 3 days when my aunt called. A neighbor told her Natalia was at our house. My aunt was watching the house while we were gone. So when she heard, she rushed over. And saw Natalia standing on our porch. Natalia was ringing the doorbell over and over. My aunt got out of the car and asked what she was doing. Natalia said she needed to talk to me. My aunt told her I wasn't there. Without mentioning that we were out of town, because she didn't want Natalia to know the house was empty. Natalia said she was willing to wait. But my aunt told her, not very politely, to leave. I think there was already bad blood between them, because they don't get along. Natalia started screaming. Calling my aunt selfish for breaking my father's heart on purpose. My aunt told her again to leave. Even less politely this time. Natalia started pounding on the door with her fists. Then kicked it. She broke the Ring camera next to our door. Luckily, we pay for cloud storage. My aunt called the police, and Natalia was arrested. She's being charged with property damage and harassment. My mom is pressing charges. We thought about coming home early. But there was no reason to ruin the trip. My mom ordered a new Ring camera, and we tried to enjoy what was left of the vacation. My cousin came over yesterday after we returned. He looked destroyed. He felt guilty for bringing this woman into the family. He apologized again and brought money to cover the repairs. My decision about my dad and stepmom. During the vacation, I came to a conclusion about my dad and stepmom. So when I got back, I called my stepmom. I didn't tell anyone I was going to. My decision is that we will never have a relationship again. What she did hurt too much. But I want to be in my brother's life. And that means we need to be able to be in the same room without it being weird. So the best option is that we stay civil. At birthdays and family events. That we handle this in a mature way. My stepmom understood. She apologized again. She said she got help after my brother was born. Which honestly made me glad, at least for his sake. Dad texted me afterward to thank me for calling her. I don't forgive my dad. I don't think I ever will. But my brother deserves to have his sister nearby. The plan is for all of us to stay cordial for his sake. And honestly, I also want to be close in case the pattern repeats. Edit. I don't expect everyone to agree with my decision not to forgive my dad and stepmom. Even if they've shown some change. People usually don't want relationships with their abusers. Maybe to some people, making a minor so stressed she loses her hair isn't abuse. But to me, and to others I've talked to, it is. I understand the hormonal part. But there's a line between being hormonal and completely hating me. She didn't hate smells. She didn't hate anything my dad did. Just me. At some point, I even wondered if she was only acting kind before pregnancy. To be accepted by my father. And once she had her own child, she wanted me out of the house. Now she knows I'm leaving for college, so it's easy to apologize. And act right once she got what she wanted. My dad has bought me things. But all I've seen is him treating me like a problem. Something he can throw money at. Maybe I'm overthinking. Or maybe they just want people to see them differently because I forgave them. White heavy checkmark. Update 3. Update 3. I'm writing this from college now. From my dorm room, where I'm officially moved in. Before I left, I was able to see my brother a few more times. Only for about 45 minutes to an hour each visit. He's still too young for me to take him places alone. But when he's older, I probably will. When I come home for breaks. Natalia's case went to court. She pleaded guilty to the property damage charge. She has to pay for repairs and is on probation. She also has to stay away from me and my family. My cousin told us she moved back to her hometown. To be closer to her old therapist, who managed her illness better. He hasn't spoken to her since the arrest. My cousin and I are okay. He visited me at college last weekend. He brought things my mom sent and took me out to dinner. He apologized again for bringing Natalia into my life. I told him to stop apologizing. It wasn't his fault his girlfriend turned out to be dangerous. Look what happened to me. I thought my stepmom was a good person too. But now I've confirmed she isn't. I'll explain more, but first I want to finish the update. During one of the scheduled visits, my dad said he had been doing research. He claimed there were studies saying pregnant women can suddenly hate one specific person for no reason. But when I did my own research, there really aren't many studies that support that. My mom helped me look into it. And like she explained, you can find studies claiming anything. What matters is whether the results can actually be reproduced. And that doesn't seem to be the case here. My hair has grown back. It took time, but now it's thick again. My mom cried when she noticed. She kept touching my hair and smiling. Now, why do I say my stepmom is a bad person? Before Natalia left, she dropped off a handwritten letter, along with some screenshots. We saw her leaving it through the new Ring camera. The letter still insisted that I forgive my father. If you've been paying attention. At first, she talked a lot about forgiving my stepmom and dad. But barely mentioned my father. Yet the time she came to the house and ran into my aunt, she was mostly talking about my dad. Now I know why. Because the screenshots were inside the envelope with the letter. My stepmom knew about Natalia's mental health problems. And she used her like a Trojan horse. First, to try to convince me to forgive him. Especially her. But then, to make herself look like she was on my side. She wanted Natalia to persuade me. But when she realized it wasn't working, she took screenshots of only what she wanted people to see. So she could look good. The problem is, I don't know who to believe. Natalia is unstable, and she could have made all of this up. We live in the 21st century. Fake screenshots are way too easy to create. On the other hand, my stepmom also seemed unstable during her pregnancy. And now that wouldn't be an excuse anymore. I don't know what to do with all of this. I don't know if I should do nothing. Since I don't really have much contact with my stepmom anyway. I don't know if I should tell my dad. Because I don't know how he'll react. My mom thinks the last option could be useful. Depending on my dad's reaction, we might find out whether he knew or not. Maybe in the confrontation, we'd get a better sense of what's real. For now, I don't know what the best decision is. Because if I do nothing and my stepmom really is that horrible, what kind of home will my brother grow up in? But if I do something and it goes badly, they might never let me see my brother again. Which would also be terrible. Especially if I'm right about my stepmom being the problem. Just once, I'd like to have a normal life. With normal problems for someone my age. Like worrying about what to wear on a date. Or complaining that a professor gave me a bad grade. At least those problems feel small compared to what I've been dealing with. The only comfort is knowing other people have it even worse. Update 4. In the end, I decided to show my dad Natalia's evidence. I did it once I came home, and we had arranged a playdate with my brother. He's older now, so I can read him a story. Play with his toys. Things like that. My stepmom was also at my mom's house, which is where the visit took place. My mom knew about my plan. She asked my stepmom for help with something. Because there was a risk my dad would mention it to her right then. And everything would turn into chaos. But it didn't. I also chose to do this in person because I needed to see my dad's reaction. And since up until now I'd only seen him with her present. This was my only chance. If I had asked him to come alone, he would have brought my stepmom anyway. And she would have gotten suspicious. My first observation was that he looked genuinely surprised by the supposed messages between Natalia and his wife. But he tried to pull himself together before she came back. He slipped the papers into his pocket, and I didn't hear anything for a while. I kept playing with my brother. Everyone acted normal. Then, nothing. I didn't hear from my dad or stepmom for a week. I assumed nothing came of it. I went back to college and forgot about it. Until my dad called and said he needed to see me in person to talk. I told him I was back at school, so the only thing we could do was a video call. I assumed what it was about. And I wasn't going to come back, I had classes. The summary of what happened, because the call was almost an hour long, was this. My dad confronted her the day after I showed him everything. He wasn't sure how to do it, but he did. At first, she denied everything. She refused to let him see her chats with Natalia because it would violate her privacy. But 2 days later, she agreed to show him her account. And there was nothing there anymore. She had probably deleted everything. Which made her look even more guilty. They argued for days. And somehow, I was part of the argument. Because she claimed I had created fake evidence. My stepmom still insists that I made the screenshots. And that I never received that letter from Natalia. My dad knows my handwriting, so I couldn't have written it. And as for the screenshots, she could have just shown him immediately instead of refusing. Instead of looking like she erased everything. By the time my dad called me, he was in a hotel room. He had left the house. They were taking time apart. Divorce was becoming a very real possibility. During the call, my dad finally said out loud what he had been thinking. That she may have used pregnancy hormones as an excuse to push me out of the house. That hurt even more. Because it meant that if my dad had stood up for me back then, things could have been completely different between us. He apologized again. He asked if I'd be willing to give him another chance. I promised I would think about it. But honestly, I don't think I need much time. Thinking about it had the opposite effect. It made me realize how little my dad cared about me when it mattered most. My decision is to keep minimal contact with him. Only what's necessary so I can stay close to my brother. I don't know if they'll divorce or work things out. But I'm almost sure that if my dad goes back to my stepmom, I can say goodbye to ever seeing my brother. She hates me right now. And she'll use it as revenge. Now the ball is in my dad's court. Update 5. I haven't been very active here except replying to a few comments. Not much has happened. Like I mentioned in a reply, my dad decided to go through with the divorce. So nothing major has happened yet, at least not that I know of. I haven't talked to my dad about the divorce. Only about seeing my brother during breaks or weekends when I come home. My relationship with my dad is exactly that. Cordial enough so I can see my brother. And it hasn't been interrupted because even though my stepmom asked for full custody, the judge only gave her weekdays. My dad has weekends. She had to move out of my dad's house. Because it belonged to him before they married. And I've gone back a few times to have visits with my brother there. One thing I did. Because I know my stepmom used Natalia to make herself look better. To twist my posts after she basically threw me out. Was to post the new information publicly. I don't think she can hate me more than she already does. And it was necessary to show what kind of person she really is. I know she doesn't like that I keep seeing my brother. My dad has told me that. He's also told me that my brother has started asking when he'll see his sister again. There's a chance she'll tell him things over time. To make him hate me. That's why I always felt there was no perfect way out of this. Letting her get away with what she wanted, like some comments suggested, was never really an option. When I posted the evidence, I had to. She was already using the fact that I was seeing my brother as an excuse. To make herself look like a better person. Like someone who had changed. Sometimes there isn't a path that fixes everything. Sometimes you just have to choose the least bad option. That's my life now. And in a few years, when my brother is a teenager, I'll deal with whatever she decides to do then.